2015 has been a pretty amazing year when it comes to albums. We've had a ton of cool stuff come out, and I'm about to recap for you my top EPs and albums of 2015. By the way, this is in no particular order. So first up, we have EPs or small albums. First up is Foo Fighters St Cecilia. This EP came out of nowhere, and it's honestly some of their best stuff in years. They recorded it down in Austin, Texas, for the Austin City Limits Roadshow that was going on down there. It's super awesome, some of their best stuff in years. I wish they'd make a full-length album that sounds like this. Next up is Haunted Shores, Viscera. Haunted Shores is a side project of Periphery guitarist Mark Holcomb and Mr. Mansur. They actually did some of the stuff live, which is super rare, and at the end of the album, you had a really cool sax solo. Very cool album to check out. Next up is Nuvolo 2. Nuvolo is a very unique and interesting band. They're prog metal, but they sort of have a lot of electronic stuff going on. This EP is a lot better than their first one. Production is better. Super awesome. Now, last up is Sixth, Opacities. This album is super cool. This is their first new material that they came out with in about 9 years. This is actually the first album that I ever listened to them, and I loved it. It's really, really cool. They're the godfathers of gent, and very awesome album. Now we're going to transition into my top albums. Once again, like I said, this is in no particular order. First up is Periphery, Juggernaut. This album is 2 albums, and to me, it's perfect. It's super awesome. It's a super awesome story. The production is the best it's been on all their albums. It's awesome. Saw them live this year. Really great album. Next up is Between the Barrier and Me, Coma Ecliptic. This is another album that was pretty much perfect for me because the production was really good. Concept album. It was very tight. It was very cool. They dialed it back a little bit. They didn't scream as much. They still did, but it wasn't as much as previous albums. Really, really, really awesome album. Next up is Good Tiger, Head Full of Moonlight. Now, this band is a collection of people from Esseract, from the Safety Fire. They got a collection of those people, and I really liked the album. It was hard at times. It was mellow at times. I liked it. A lot of the people said that they were kind of down on it. Wasn't what they were expecting. It's exactly what I was expecting, and I loved it. Now, the Grammy-nominated Sevendust, Kill the Flaw, is up next. I was going to put this album as most underrated album of the year, but since it kind of got a Grammy nomination, it kind of didn't really, I guess it didn't fly on the radar that much. I didn't really care for their last album that much, but this one was awesome. It was kind of a return to their roots in a way. And I really like this album. I still actually want to listen to it, which is cool. To me, if I want to go back and listen to an album a lot, that means that it's really good. And it got a Grammy nomination, which is super cool. I really hope they win it because they deserve it. Now, this album almost didn't make the cut for me, and I almost kind of called it the most overrated album of the year, and it's Tesseract Polaris. Now, I love Tesseract. The only reason I even said those things is because the band did say that they rushed this album. They didn't really have enough time to get everything out, and it kind of shows. Like, this album is good, but it's not great. Like, the last 2 albums were awesome, and everyone was excited because Dan was back in the band, but there's a noticeable absence of leads on this album, and I just think if they didn't rush it, if they were to give themselves maybe 2 or 3 more weeks, it would have been amazing, and it would have been great. But, I mean, it's still up there. It's just not amazing, I guess you could say. Next up is The Lamb of God, Strung und Drang. Now, Randy did get arrested. He got into some trouble overseas, was arrested. I think, honestly, that was the best thing that could have happened to the band. It did bankrupt them, of course, but this album is really cool. It's very angry. It's back to the Lamb of God we know and love. Awesome Lamb of God record. Now, Rest Among Ruins, Fugue. This is the debut album of Mike Szymanski. He used to be in Intervals. He used to be the singer in Intervals. And I honestly wasn't going to include this album, but I went back and listened to it a few days ago, and I decided to throw it in there. I'm going to name this one the most underrated album of 2015 because it's a really cool album because it does stuff you don't really see a lot anymore. It has its ebbs and its flows. It gets hard and energetic, and then it goes down. It has its peaks and its valleys. A lot of albums just kind of stay at one they plateau and they don't really move. This one moved a lot. You have a ton of songs, which again you don't see in a lot of albums. I liked it. It's a very cool progressive album, and honestly, it's some of Mike's best stuff since he was in Heart Machine. Deer Hunter, Act 4. This is my first introduction to Deer Hunter. I've heard so much about them, but I never really listened to them all that much. And Act 4 is simply amazing. It's cool. It's open. It's I don't know. It's amazing. If you're into kind of more chill music, indie type music, you definitely need to check it out. It's super awesome. Veil of Maya Matriarch, or basically how I like to call it, Veil of Periphery, because Spencer Sotelo did produce the vocals on this album. They did get a new vocalist. Veil of Maya did, and this album it's really cool. It's a lot more progressive. It's not as in your face as the other albums were. It's very progressive. It's really cool. Each song on the album is named after a woman from like anime and books, and it's really cool. Really cool album. You definitely need to check it out. Next album up is Axel Mansour Relay. Axel is the brother of Periphery member Misha Mansour, and this album is super cool. It has a smarter Jack Johnson vibes mixed with Reign of Kindle. I wish this kind of music was played on the radio because it isn't music that's just made to sell a bunch of records. It's cool. It's good. It's awesome. But you know how it goes. Now, I did miss a lot of albums this year. I didn't get to review a lot of them. John Brown's instrumental album, Quatsai, it was really cool. One of the better instrumental albums that I've listened to in the past couple of years. It's really awesome. I didn't get a chance to review it. Native Construct was actually the first album, which is like super cool. They're sort of like Dream Theater. I actually really like them. I wish that I had enough time to review their album. Pomegranate Tiger just came out with a new album. Everyone left the band. They just got one guy left in there. Very cool record. You definitely should check it out if you like instrumental music. Now, 2016, we have a lot of cool stuff coming out. Dream Theater's definitely coming out with a new album. 12 Foot Ninja's coming out with a new album. Killswitch, Gojira, Haken, Deftones, Corellia. A ton more I missed. We have a ton of new stuff coming out in 2016. And that's when I'll see y'all next. They'll tell me what albums did I miss. Which albums you thought were your top albums and EPs of the year. Let me know in the comments below. As for me, I am out. Everyone have a happy everything. I shall see you in 2016.